Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Pocket Kings. This is a short-handed game, six players. I'm on the cutoff, so I open raise with kings. I think that's pretty standard. Here's my opening range, and then we have small blind that calls, and we see a flop. Small blind, I have 6 hands. He's playing 50% right now. 3 out of 6. He's raised 1 out of 6. Really have a hard time determining what to play. I do have a note that he played with ace 10, ace 10 offsuit. So I think if he has ace 10 offsuit, he's probably playing the rest of these offsuit hands, especially if he's played 3 out of 6. And maybe he's lucky, maybe he's gotten around it. But we'll start with something wider, and then we'll narrow it down where it's just like these suited aces and everything. But we see a flop. It's 8-7-2. He checks. I see bet here. I think that's the right call. We do have. I do figure we're ahead at this point. He could have 2 pair, but we could also have 2 pair. I think overall the equities, with his ranges, we're probably ahead. So I think we're probably ahead enough to where we can see bet. And I think we could fire a turn with any, Broadway card that comes out. So I think this is a good C bet and plan for a double barrel with, decent hands in our range. So he calls, 5 of spades comes out. Obviously not the best card. Villain 5 checks. And I think I bet here. And as I was thinking about it just now, I think that's actually probably good. We don't have the king of spades, so it could mean that he might have a king of spades. So it increases the chances that he might have the spade draw. Maybe that argues then for checking instead of betting when that third card comes out. Maybe we bet, we lean more towards betting with the king of spades, but if we don't have the king of spades, we check. So I want to check this. This is one aspect of our play. When that spade comes out, should we favor betting or checking? Villain calls, and then probably one of the worst cards could come, a 6, putting up. Now, not only do we have the flush draw, but we have 4 to a straight. Villain checks, I check behind. So I want to see, how does my play compare to GTO? What does GTO say on boards like this? So I've set it up to where I don't think Villain's going to donk unless he's shown aggression previously. So I think his check's going to be 100%, and then it's on us. And it does look like we are betting most of the time. So we are going to mix in some checks with our premium hands, with our aces, with our kings. Actually, it looks like aces is probably checking a little bit more than kings, but we're still, by and large, this is 66% bets. Kings is 78% bets. So we're betting these overcards aggressively. So I agree. I'm glad I did that. And then Villain's gonna call. It looks like he should be raising like sets and 2 pairs, and we can adjust that if we don't think he is going to be doing those. But versus an unknown GTO player, he should be raising his better hands and then calling some of these other ones. So he calls, and then we get a 5 of spades. Villain checks again, and now it's on us. And now it looks like it's just 50-50. So yeah, it is GTO saying we still bet with the kings. We're still aggressive. We're betting with the kings, queens, jacks. We're mostly betting with 10s, 9s. We tend to be checking. So with 9s, I guess we block the straights. We block like the 8, 9, 9, 10s. With 10s, we don't block 8, 9, so he could have 8, 9 himself. We're betting our flushes and straights. Over most of our over pairs, again, aces are leaning towards checks, 9s are checks. Top pairs are checking now, so we're checking top pair. We're somewhat betting middle pair. 9, 7, 7, 6, and I think we're betting those, especially the 7, 6, because the open ender along with the middle pair. Weak pair, we're leaning more towards check. So even with the 5, 6, or 6s, we're gonna go for the checks because we could be behind to that 7 or to the 8 type hands. So yeah, okay. So I think our bet's gonna be pretty fine, and then villain calls again, and we get a 6 of diamonds out here, I believe. Villain checks, and now okay. So it does look like I check here. So I check with my kings, and see the showdown. So we do bet flushes, straights. We bet some sets, but 2 pair, over pair, top pair, weak pair, ace high. We all check. We also have some of these hands that kind of miss. So these would be like the king queen offsuit hands that we bet. You can see ace 9. That's a pair. Ace 9s are straight. Ace 10 here is some of the ace high. King queens we bet. King jacks we miss all of those. Okay, so does it change if he doesn't raise? Maybe. Would players raise? I don't know. I would say probably not. So if we get rid of raising with the sets and 2 pairs, and say he calls with overpair, calls with top pair, calls with middle pair. Yeah, let's say he calls with weak pair, because again, it's not like you don't have Broadway hands. I think weak pair, if people call, they tend to then fold to the turn. We're gonna fold the ace highs. Take that back. We're gonna call the ace highs. We are going to fold no made hands, and then we are going to change it so flush draw calls, open enders call. We'll call with some of the gut shots. All right, so let's run the solver, and we will be back. All right, so solver's done. So once we get rid of his raising with a mix of 2 pair plus and some draw hands, it becomes c-bet 99% of the time. He calls, and then we do start to check more here, but we're still betting with kings and queens. That's, I think, aces we're checking here because we're using this really the best overpair to protect our hands. At least that's what I think we're doing. If we bet, he is supposed to raise some of these, and maybe he now raises like flushes and sets and stuff, which is going to affect what proportion of hands we're gonna play. Now what I want to do is go back and modify what he's doing. So I'm gonna guess this is ace 10. He called with the ace 10 of spades, and I mean, does he have it? Yeah, he calls here. He checks again. If I bet, he could be raising here, and I think that could be a pretty strong bluff here. With the ace of spades, because I don't have it. You catch a flush, and it's like, okay, you've got the nut flush. You're not really worried about the straight hitting there, so I think it's consistent. Check call, check call, check call, or check call flop, check call turn, and then check raise river. Try to get paid off. I think that could make sense. So it's a play that I need to consider using. I have used it before, maybe not the check raises, but if I'm in position and the guy donks and I call, and then he bets a turn and I call, and then that river gets doesn't get 4 to a flush, but I have the ace of spades. There's 3 to a flush, and I've got the ace of spades. Sometimes I do raise it because I know he can't have the nut flush. So he does have ace 10. So let's kind of say that is he's playing a little bit tighter. Here's something like this, where he doesn't have all these offsuits, but maybe just like the ace 10. Let's do something like that. Let's adjust his out of position raise. We will rebuild the tree, and then we will run the solver and we'll be back. All right, so my guess is when his hand tightens up, our equities are going to be much closer, so we're going to be c-betting a little bit less. There's going to be less need to c-bet. So let's check it out. It's 50-50. We are, c-betting kings and aces less. Kind of follows, and not necessarily that my equities change when I have aces or kings, but when we look at all the hands that I have versus the hands that he has, yeah, we have a few more hands in our range than he does, which means we're going to miss the flop a little bit more than he does. We have position that helps, but we're not going to be as willing to c-bet. We're not going to be c-betting 75%, 80% versus a GTO player. Now, if we change it and adjust what hands he calls versus raises, and if we get rid of all of these raises and just said he calls pairs and draws, then I believe our c-bet percentages go up. So we bet 50%, which, yeah, we can do that. He calls. Now we're betting again about 50%. Still, our equities are probably about running pretty close. Our kings definitely favor betting with the king of spades. We can check when we don't have it, so I think that's fine. This is kind of what I was thinking. Since I don't have the king of spades, I should probably check. So I bet he's calling again. And then on the river, we're checking with our overpairs. We have a showdown hand. Villain could easily have 10 based on his wider range he has. I think Villain's going to have, he's calling 61%, and his calls are going to be a mix of, more overpair plus. So since most of his range now is going to be stronger hands that are better than top pair, we're going to start to adjust what we're betting. So we're not even going to be betting all of our sets. We're betting straight sets, basically straights plus. So if we change his calling range, so get rid of his, raises, which again, I don't think everyone does. I'm going to guess that our c-bet percentages now go up. Maybe not to 100%, but pretty darn close. So he's going to call all those. We're going to say all of the middle pairs, the weak pairs. He did do the ace high with backdoor flush draws. We're going to say he folds the no made hands. And then we're going to come back and say he calls with his flush draws and his open enders and his gut shots. And he's got 2-card backdoor flush with overs. All right, so let's run the solver and we'll be back. All right, so yep, just as expected, when he isn't going to really be raising us, our c-bet percentage goes up to 91%. He calls, and that means then my turn barrel is going to be much less. So we check, and now we're down to 24%. Now we are going to start checking these overpairs. We're going to be using these to balance all of the other checks that we had in our range that we were just kind of betting because he's not getting raised, and he's folding 25%. We got a little bit of fold equity, but we're betting less. We're still betting our flushes. We're still betting our straights. but like our 2-pair, overpair, top pair hands are going to be checking now to kind of protect a lot of the weaker hands. So if we check and that 6 of diamonds comes out, if he bets, we can call with our overs. It's kind of interesting that we fold our aces, but we can call with kings and queens. Just kind of balance. If he checks, I think we check behind. We're betting stronger. All right, so I think we played the hand okay. I think it kind of matched some of the GTO. I think some of the reasoning matched. We were supposed to be betting, but versus on the turn, we could have here just checked behind, especially versus like GTO player. When we don't have the king of spades, we could check. If we have the king of spades, we bet, because if we're behind, we still have at least that flush draw. But river decision, checking behind, definitely seemed to be the right decision. If you like this hand, look tomorrow for another one.